Hi everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecolored.co.uk and thank you very much for joining me today. Later this week is St David's Day, March the 1st, and St David is the patron saint of Wales, which is where I live, and we do make quite a big thing about St David's Day. Now, the national flower of Wales is the daffodil, and on St David's Day you will find everybody across Wales, adults, children, everybody will be wearing either a daffodil or a leek or maybe a dragon. Let's start again. Hi everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecolored.co.uk and thank you very much for joining me today. This is the card that I've been making today. Now later this week is St David's Day, the 1st of March, and I live in Wales in the United Kingdom, and for us in Wales St David is a pretty big deal. We make a big fuss of St David's Day. You will find everybody wearing some kind of national emblem. When children go to school, they go dressed up in Welsh national costume and they sing Welsh songs and they recite Welsh poems, and we do have a we really celebrate, we really let our hair down. So I was delighted when I saw this stamp with the daffodils on, because the daffodil is the national flower of Wales. And I've made this card to celebrate St David's birthday, which was 1st of March. So stick with me and I'll show you how I made it. These are the things that I'm using to make my card today. First of all, I've got the card base. It's thick whisper white and I've cut it to 11.5 by 4 and scored and folded it at 5 3/4. I'm going to be doing some matting on a piece of Pear Pizzazz card, and that is 3 3/4 by 5.5. I'm going to stamp onto some watercolour card, and this piece is big enough to cover the image that I'm going to be using. It's about 3 inches by 4.5 maybe. I'm going to be using this. This is the Basket Weave Dynamic Embossing Folder. Now this is something that was part of, or is part of, the second release of Celebration items. So you can get this as part of a bundle for free as long as you your order is £90 or more before postage and packing, and you place your order before the 31st of March, assuming stocks last, okay? But the good thing is that this embossing folder, they've told us, is going to be available in the annual catalogue, but you won't be able to get that till the 1st of June. So, don't wait, would be my advice. I'm going to use this stamp from Your Inspiring, which is absolutely beautiful. I want a slightly softer effect, so instead of black ink, I'm going to stamp using my basic grey archival. I've got a few different colours of my Stampin' Up markers, so I've got the 2 greens from the Subtles, so that's Wild Wasabi and Pear Pizzazz. I've got some Soft Sky, I've got a blend pen, I have So Saffron, and I think this is Crumb Cake. I think those are going to be the colours I'm going to be using. I may add in more as the mood takes me, and I have my layering oval framelits. So first of all, I'm going to stamp my daffodils onto my watercolour card, and I'm inking up my stamp with my basic grey. Now because this is an archival pad, I'm kind of rubbing it over the surface because the pad is a little bit firmer than with the rest of our coloured inks, and I'm just going to pop that down more or less in the middle of my paper. I'm going to be die cutting this out later, so I'm not really too bothered about how straight it is, but I am making sure that I get good pressure on top of my stamp and that I get lots of pressure all over, because this has a texture. And the other thing that I'm doing is I'm leaving it sit there for a little while for the ink to transfer, and you will always get a better result if you can do that rather than if you just hit and run. Okay, so there we go, and I'm very, very happy with that. I'm going to colour in my flowers, and I'm going to use my Stampin' Up markers, but if you want to use a colour that you don't have in a marker, but you do have a stamp pad for, then you can still use your stamp pad because it's exactly the same ink in the markers as is in the stamp pads. So what you would do, you take your pad and you squash it well so that the lid is squashing down onto the pad, and then when you open it, you'll have a little well of colour there. And that is what you can use. You can pick it up with your blender pen and you can work with it in exactly the same way. So I'm going to start colouring now. I'm going to speed this up, give you some music to listen to, and I'm going to start by putting down the colour I want to use onto a shiny surface and working with my blender pen. This image is too big to fit in even the largest of my layering oval framelits. As you can see, there's a bit of petal sticking out outside the frame here. Now I can do two things. I can either cut bits off, so I can either lose a bit of the stems at the bottom, or I can do an out of the frame card, and I'm going to do an out of the frame cut here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide where I want my frame to sit. Now the cut is going to be further in, so I need to take that into account when I'm working on this. So I think that's about where I want it. So I'm just going to put a bit of low tack tape there just to hold it down, and I'm just going to draw outside of my frame here where my framelit is going to come. Okay, I'm not going to worry too much about these pencil marks because those are going to be cut away. And now I'm going to take my snips and I am going to fussy cut around my pieces that are going to be outside of the frame of the card. I'm going to cut in about 1/4 of an inch beyond where I think the frame is going to end, kind of like that. Okay, so I've just freed that piece from the rest of I can't think of my words today, from the rest of my my paper. Okay, so, and again, just cutting into that just a little bit, and the same on this side. Cut in, and I'm not sure where the edge is going to come here, so I'm going to cut this one as well a little bit. Okay, so now I can take, let's chop these extra bits away, I can take my framelit and I can pop it back in. And these pieces that I've freed from the background will just sit on top, just like that, and like this, I hope. Okay, may need to do a little bit of wiggling around. Okay. All right. So now, when I run this through the Big Shot, these pieces are going to be outside or above the cutting edge, and they won't be cut out. And there you go, there's my finished die cut. Now, while I was over at the Big Shot, I also embossed my piece of Pear Pizzazz. Now, I do want to say that this is a dynamic embossing folder, which means that it is thicker than normal. So the sandwich for this one is your base plate. Now, if you've got the older base plate that's got the tabs, it's no tabs at all, so it's just the base, and then your folder, and then one cutting plate. Okay, don't try to put it through with two cutting plates, it will break your machine. And that is the result you get. Isn't that glorious? Now, the next bit's completely optional. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I want to give this a bit of shape. So I've got my my flower shaping tool here, and I've got my squishy mat underneath, and I'm just going round, and this is going to shake a little bit, and for that I am sorry. I hope that iMovie, which is what I use to edit in, can sort this out. Okay. And a bit earlier on, I traced the outline of my flowers onto the back, and I've got a video showing you how I did that, and I'm just going to go over the lines that I traced. With an embossing tool. And while I do that, I'll take you back in time and show you how I got those lines there. I don't think, but I'm just going to trace around the outline of where my daffodil is with a pencil. I'm working on the rear of the already stamped piece, okay? And when I need more light, I'm just going to move my card around. Alright, now this is going to take me a little while to do, so either I'll fast forward or I'll cut and paste, and when I've finished I will have traced all of the daffodils that are on the front of my card onto the back of my card. I don't think that tracing the outlines of the flowers has really added very much to the okay, so I've finished tracing over the outlines onto the back of the paper here. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I finished tracing the outline of the flowers on the reverse of my panel here, and to be honest with you, I don't think it's made that much difference. So it's up to you whether or not you do it. I probably wouldn't bother again. I just shape the oval. So now I'm going to stick it onto the front of my card, and I've gone ahead and I've stuck my panel down, and I used liquid adhesive for that because it's very heavily embossed, and I wanted to make sure that it stuck down well. and I'm going to put some dimensionals into the middle of the panel. Again, to make sure that that sticks down well. And should we have some more? Why not? Be a devil. Be a devil, eh? Okay. I love dimensionals. They are the most wonderful thing ever. Okay. I'm going to decide where I want to place that and pop that down, and then just press down onto my dimensionals. And there you go. So a couple of finishing touches. I've stamped Happy Birthday onto a little scrap of watercolour card. And I picked Happy Birthday because the 1st of March, according to legend, was St. David's birthday. So it was also the day he left this life, so they tell us. So I'm just cutting about 1/4 of an inch in from the edge there, and I'm just snipping up to the line I cut. And now I've made a little banner, and oops, I'm going to pop that down with a couple of dimensionals, because why not? You know, there's already a lot of dimension happening with this card, and the nice thing about the basket weave is that it gives me a straight line to line up against, because sometimes I have trouble with that. Don't know whether you'd notice. Okay, so these are the glitter and clear epoxy shapes which are in the Spring Summer catalogue, and I'm just going to use a couple of these. These are some little tiny raindrops here and some little dots, and the dots are in 2 sizes, so I'm going to use a couple of the smaller clear ones just to add that little something something onto my card here. Here we go. Can't talk and craft at the same time. It's a bit of a drawback when you're a YouTuber. I'm just going to show you the glitter ones, because they've got like an Aurora Borealis glitter in there. It's quite subtle. It's very nice. And you know what? I think I will pop one of the smaller circles. Just one. Come on off. Stuck to my thumb. There you go. And I will just put it just on the centre of that leaf there, just to give it a little bit of a highlight. So there is my finished card for St. David. Now I did move my little dewdrop from the leaf, and I moved it up to petal on my flower because I thought it looked a little bit better there. But that is it. Thank you very much for staying with me this far. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If so, I would really love it if you'd hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, or hop on over to my blog or my Facebook page, see what I've been up to over there. But for now, thank you very much for joining me, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.